Stay Ukrainian, my friends. Stay
Sponsored by Ukrainian Credit Union. Believe it or not, it's me, Ron Cahoot, with
Stay Ukrainian, my friends.
Stay Ukrainian, my friends.
Well, it's Ryan boycott time again. I guess the last time we spoke about this was 3 festivals ago at Bon Bloor. You were just mentioning you were getting into this and a feature film as well. I'm led to understand that That Never Happened is a documentary.
It is.
And it is a documentary about the internment between
1914 to 1920, so it continued for 2 years after the end of World War I.
Any survivors?
At this point, no. So our documentary really deals with why it's relevant today. A lot of people want to learn about the Ukrainian internment during World War I, and when you are talking to different people, the most common question is, who cares and why is it relevant? So we've tried to answer that question in this documentary, as well as what happened to the women and children. Last year we released a successful web series called The Camps, where we went to each and every one of the internment camps across Canada. That's now available for free on YouTube, and we also have DVDs available. But what I found when that was complete is that we were missing the 2 pieces of, number 1, what happened to the families, and number 2, why should we care?
Well, I guess we should care for the same reason the Japanese during the Second World War in the United States. I mean, and this was primarily because they were from Austria, or the Austrian Empire at the time. I mean, prior to World War, just the beginning of World War I, I guess. World War I started in 14 or 13?
14.
Yeah.
14.
So they all came to escape it, and then we punished them for it.
Yeah, absolutely. These people were invited citizens. Basically, you had the prairies of Canada, which is Manitoba, Saskatchewan, and Alberta, that were at risk of being annexed by the United States. So in the late 1880s, Clifford Sifton, who was the Minister of the Interior, he actually went to Ukraine and all of these other Eastern European countries and invited people here with the promise of free land. And so years later, you've got this big wave of Ukrainian immigrants who have come to Canada. They've started homesteading, and then they are seen as enemies. And the parallels of a lot of the rhetoric that we're hearing today was shocking, because when we started making this documentary, we thought we were making a nice little niche documentary for the Ukrainian community, and that would be the life that it has. But what we found is everybody's responding to it. All communities are responding to it. In fact, we've had more non-Ukrainians see this film than we've had Ukrainians. So it just goes to show that it's a human story, it's a Canadian story, it's our history, and it's something that we need to share with
Now,
the world.
you're dealing with just the Ukrainian internment, or were there other nationalities?
There were other nationalities. So there were Croatians, Poles, Turks, Alevi Kurds, basically anybody who was in that area that was taken over by the Austro-Hungarian Empire during World War I. If they were here and they had that Austro-Hungarian passport, they were seen as suspect.
How long is the film?
The film is 78 minutes, so an hour and 18 minutes, including the credits.
That's good math.
Yeah,
Good for you.
Yeah, you'll see all of the major Ukrainian organizations across Canada represented in this film.
There's archival footage?
There's archival footage. So you will see the Ukrainian Canadian Congress, you will see the Shevchenko Foundation, you will see the Ukrainian Canadian Civil Liberties Association, and all of them, what they did when they came together to spearhead a campaign with the government of Canada in order to get recognition.
But there are no survivors.
There are no survivors. No, no.
Of
Now
course,
we're
1920. That's we're talking 97 years already.
yeah,
So.
yeah. The last known survivor died in 2008.
Incredible. So, it's the Toronto premiere.
This is the Toronto premiere. It is Tuesday, December 12th at 7 p.m. at the Ted Rogers Hot Docs Cinema, and that is in downtown Toronto at the corner of Bathurst and Bloor.
And their tickets are how much?
Tickets are $30.
Available at the door or online?
They're available online. We anticipate that this will sell out. There have been so many people contacting us about why hasn't it made it to Toronto yet.
Not Ukrainians.
Yeah, not just Ukrainians. There will be a lot of others there as well. Toronto film industry people. We had the National Film Board that was at our screening in Edmonton yesterday. So there are a lot of different people who are going to be coming out to see this. So make sure you get your tickets early. early. They're available online. You can also follow us on Twitter and Facebook at Armistice Films, and we'll let you know where everything is happening.
Was there ever an official apology?
There was no official apology. There was an official redress, which means that the government of Canada gave the Ukrainian community and others a $10 million settlement that is now being overseen by the Shevchenko Foundation, and they've created something called the Canadian First World War Internment Recognition Fund, where anybody who has any family history, has any interest in looking into their own family's trunks, they can go and contact the Canadian First World War Internment Recognition Fund and apply for a grant. And that's what that money's for. That money is for memory. It's for making sure that the proper history is told and that all Canadians will know about this period. We actually have one of the descendants who says in the film that he feels that we're entitled to an apology. However, it took so long to get simply recognition that I think it would be another complete campaign in order to get an apology. And at this point, I don't think that there's anybody who's ready to take up the torch and ask for that. So having films like this, having films like Lehovey's Freedom Had a Price, getting that out to the community, getting the community involved and aware, and simply recognizing it, and not just our community, but all Canadians, to remember that this happened, and that's the ultimate goal.
You know, one of the amazing things that comes of this recognition, the more we push for this recognition and these kind of things, I think it's it's allowing the Canadian, non-Ukrainian Canadians to realize just how instrumental Ukrainians were in building this country.
Absolutely.
You know, people don't realize it, just how they built this country, especially Western Canada.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's amazing, and I don't think it would happen if it weren't for these tragedies.
Right. Yeah, it's very true. A lot of people are shocked most of the time, unless Edmonton the other day, we had the biggest number of people who had heard of this before, but we've done 15 screenings in 13 cities over the last 2 months, and 90% of the audience had never heard that this happened prior to watching the film. And the questions during the question and answer periods have been incredible. And also the number of people who are moved, the number of educators who are there who are saying, how do we get this into our school system? It's not just a Ukrainian story. It is a human story. It's a Canadian story, and it's an important story for us to remember.
Yeah, it is. December the 12th, that's a Tuesday?
It's a Tuesday night.
7 o'clock.
7 o'clock, and it's at the Ted Rogers Hot Doc Cinema, downtown Toronto.
Right, across from where used to stand Honest Ed's, Crazy Honest Ed's, $30. Available online. Available at the door, but maybe not, huh?
But maybe not. So
I guess you'd prefer not.
We'd prefer if it sells out. We're hoping that it sells out. It's been very well received all across Canada. We've won 5 awards with 6 nominations, 4 in the Best Documentary category, and 1 People's Choice Award. So
maybe get an Oscar.
Well, we aren't applying for that yet, but
an Emmy.
We'll see how next year goes.
Stay Ukrainian, my friends. Stay
Sponsored by Ukrainian Credit Union. Believe it or not, it's me, Ron Cahoot, with
Stay Ukrainian, my friends.
Stay Ukrainian, my friends. Still needs an accordion.